Our topic today is how to find the right supply chain solutions for your business. Basically, we're going to talk about what options are available and considerations that you want to make before buying. So, quick introduction, our Accelytics team. I'm Chris Loudit, and with me here today is our supply chain subject matter expert, Matt Russell. Our other panelist, Michael LaHood, will join us again on our next session. So last week in our webinar, we talked about how organizations can use Anaplan Polaris to better leverage sparse supply chain data sets. Very interesting presentation. If you want to take a look at it, it's on our website and on our YouTube channel. This week, we want to talk about things you should consider before buying a supply chain planning solution and what the major components of these solutions are. So I'm going to review all the basics, then Matt and I will discuss how Anaplan fits into all of this. So let's go ahead and jump in and get to the first major slide. So this slide lists out all of the considerations that you want to make before you make a decision and invest in supply chain software. So to start off, the first thing obviously is business objectives and strategy. You need to understand your organization's supply chain objectives and the long-term strategy. You want to ensure that the chosen system aligns with these goals and can adapt to the evolving business needs in the future. The next item is scalability. You need to consider that. Can it grow with your organization as your operations expand, or we need to invest in a new system in the near future? These are important questions depending on how fast your company is growing, and scalability becomes a big point. The next point is the integration. Today, integration is always a key, always a consideration. You need to ensure that the system can seamlessly integrate with your existing ERP, with your warehouse management, with your transportation management, anything else that's relevant. Integration is crucial for data accuracy and process efficiency. So it's a high up on the list of things to consider. Data, of course, data is the backbone of supply chain planning, and it's one of the main things that goes wrong when a implementation is unsuccessful. So you want to have a system that can handle, clean, maintain data accuracy, look for features like data validation, data cleansing, and data integration when you're interviewing and reviewing your options. Okay, next one is scenario analysis. That's a mandatory piece for doing state-of-the-art, best-in-class supply chain planning. Your system should allow you to simulate various supply chain scenarios to make informed decisions. Okay, also consider the user-friendliness of the system. A system that is easy to use and understand will lead to better adoption among your team and more participation from the business. Reporting and analytics, of course. These capabilities are crucial for monitoring performance and making data-driven decisions. Please ensure that the system provides meaningful dashboards and reports and can be configured to inform you about your KPIs. Also, collaboration and communication. Evaluate these features. They enable better communication and coordination with suppliers, customers, and internal teams. Collaboration tools can improve response times and customer service dramatically. Now, also, if your industry is subject to specific regulations or compliance requirements, and this is common in many industries, but you can give examples like pharmaceuticals, food industry, you need to ensure that the system can help you to meet these standards, because if that's neglected, you're not going to be able to utilize the system to its max. Also, it's not always easy, but you want to be able to calculate not just the total cost of ownership for the system, including licensing, implementation, training, and ongoing software costs year after year. But then the hard part can also be comparing this with expected return on investment. But I'd like to say, out of experience, I've noticed that supply chain systems, more so than any other type of solution or software solution, you can measure the ROI because there are direct impacts with supply chain on your service levels, on your inventory levels, number of KPIs, which you can actually simulate best case, worst case scenario and actually come up with a pretty reasonable looking ROI. And if you calculate that, it makes a very compelling argument, especially if you're trying to get budget from executive team to make a purchase to buy one of these solutions. Okay, next point, researcher, vendor, and implementation partner. That goes without saying, of course. You want to make sure that you check your references. Also, future-proofing, making sure that you're looking at a system that has latest technology. You don't want to go with something that's been around as a legacy tool, because you know that those tools may or may not last and may be easily outplaced or outclassed by newer technologies. I mean, just look at all the things out there today. We're using AI, machine learning, All the supply chain solutions are incorporating that nowadays, and it's important to make sure that you've got a system that's not going to go obsolete. Okay, security and data privacy. The system, of course, needs to meet your requirements, especially for handling sensitive customer or proprietary information, which, let's face it, most companies are. And then lastly, seek references and case studies from other organizations that have implemented the same system, of course. Learning from their experiences can provide valuable insights and really help you make up your mind and make a decision as to what is the best path forward for your particular situation. So by carefully considering each of these factors and involving the key stakeholders in the decision-making process from the start, and I want to emphasize from the start, you can select a supply chain planning system that best fits your organization's needs and helps you achieve your goals. Slide and comparing the prepackaged solutions versus platforms. So this is more of a strictly practical way of looking at it, but this is a decision that oftentimes is best made up front. That's because sometimes your needs are more pointing towards a prepackaged solution or an out of the box, and sometimes a platform is a better decision. And if you make this decision up front, you can save time and effort, not just yourself, but also for others. So for example, if the organization is averse to doing internal development, then platforms should not be considered. It would be a waste of time. But if your organization requires a highly custom solution, you can focus on platforms and templated solutions as opposed to wasting a lot of time looking at the out of box. So in many cases, it does make sense, and this is out of our experience, to make some of these types of decisions up front, even before you look at the other considerations on that first slide that we just reviewed. Hosting. And this oftentimes is not even a decision. It's more of a path, because a lot of companies have data centers on premise and they want to have full control of it. And they want to have full control of their physical security, and they get economies of scale from doing that. And so adding another system requires minimal incremental effort. Now, on the other hand, a lot of companies have taken advantage of cloud-based systems. And I believe that wherever possible, that is almost always the best choice. And this will reduce upfront and ongoing costs. Examples of these costs include a lot of things: hardware, communications, networking, configuration, the physical plant, electricity, air conditioning, the security in that physical plant, training of people, management. It goes on and on. So there was a lot of costs associated with on-premise that can be avoided with SaaS, software as a service, and cloud-based solutions. Many of the supply chain planning and planning systems and solutions are either one or the other. Some are both. So please take this into consideration. It's very important. Oh, another thing, also cloud-based data centers are designed to be very resilient, compliant, and secure. So you do get a lot for what you pay for, because you get that economy of scale with a lot of people using a large data center. That's one of the pros and cons, the summary of pros and cons in that sense. This is just an overview, visual look from a very high level at how many major solutions incorporate elements that are regularly deployed in three major areas. You have demand planning, which generally is broken down into two sides, where you've got statistical modeling on one and then consensus management on the other. Also in supply planning, some of the major things that you'll see: inventory, capacity, procurement. Procurement is broken down into materials requirements for bill of materials, or also buy, sell items that you buy to sell, and of course all the components that you might need. So supply planning has got a lot of major areas, but these are the key ones that you're going to find again and again at a high level. And then S&OP, which is how you orchestrate your supply chain planning. And in order to get to that level where you're actually orchestrating, there are major components like setting up product reviews, demand reviews, executive review, these types of things. And when you do that with a state-of-the-art supply chain planning system, you go from reacting to proacting in a very quick way. This slide, I want to make a point. This is another major consideration when you're thinking about your supply chain solutions. It's the importance of demand planning. You can see it depicted in this visual in the center, because all the other use cases are built around it. These are only a few examples, but my point is that they all start with a forecast. So this means that if your demand planning process is weak or not accurate, then the rest of your planning functions will suffer. This underscores the need to get demand planning right before foraying off to additional supply chain planning use cases. If you had a good forecast and you're not missing information, double counting things, all your other planning is going to run better. So I put demand planning in the center in red just to show that, to emphasize the importance and how if you're starting off on a new journey and with any solution, you want to make sure you get demand planning right. So that's important. Next couple of slides are going to be from Matt, our subject matter expert.
Yeah, I just want to talk about in the decision-making process, the concept of connected planning, which is one of the things that has me most professionally excited probably over the last 12 to 18 months and thinking about the possibilities of what that is. But what connected planning is it's taking your financial, operational, your strategic goals across your entire organization and reporting and working towards it from a single point of truth. So that would mean that your FP&A and demand planning would be on the same platform. They would be sharing the same data, same hierarchies, and there's no gymnastics to be able to talk from one organization to another organization. What is it? It's faster decision making. You can see the data, you can see real time how it impacts key metrics. You've got increased collaboration because now I know if I am going to increase my buy by 500 units, it's going to impact Charlene in finance that I need to make a call to, and we need to have a discussion about it right away. And we bring it up and we're both looking at the same screens and we're both working from the same data. And then, scenarios can be run to see the impacts across all the silos. How does this impact our expected P&L from making this decision over here for an inventory strategy? And you can start having those conversations once everything is on the same platform and once you can start linking them effectively, quickly, and in real time. Just a couple of call outs, kind of traditional call outs. McKinsey reports that connected planning organizations generate 10% greater revenue and reduce costs of 20% compared to non-connected entities. From the outside, when I see that screams off the top better demand planning right off the top, because you're hitting and having supply to increase your revenue without running a promotion or anything else. And then you were still reducing costs on the other side by 20%. So that's the power that it can create. Bain & Company states that a connected planning platform leads to a 15% increase in customer satisfaction. And Gallup, with their finger on today's pulse, companies on connected planning software experience increased engagement and productivity of team members. Everybody's talking the same language. Everybody begins to talk about this in the same language as the S&OP. I think of connected planning is that S&OP meeting brought down to the boots on the ground daily life decisions that buyers, planners, purchasing agents have to make each and every day. It lets them see that impact across the organization in real time. The industry research done by Gartner is an excellent way to compare systems from a strategic perspective. It helps with consideration from our first side where we talked about a vendor reputation. Gartner upgrades the grid yearly, and they also publish empirical data they collect in order to make the rankings. So this is, the Gartner Magic Quadrant for supply chain solutions. And you can see how everyone is falling. Anaplan in 2022 was in the golden quadrant, but we're back in the challengers, and I would expect us to be back in the leaders in very short term. But yeah, external industry groups are helpful. Other groups such as BCG or Nucleus Research, they can provide some further help as well.
We figured our Q&A session or our panel input session should include reasons as to why Accelytics focuses on Anaplan, because there are a number of other solutions out there. We've gone through a lot of reasons as to why you may want to look at one type of software versus another, considerations that may or may not lead you in a specific direction. But for us, it boils down to 4 or 5 key reasons. So let me start by going through a couple of those myself. The first one is that I believe that utilizing a platform allows us to add more value to our clients and do so more quickly. We can do fully customized solutions deployed rapidly in as little as 10 weeks. When I first started at Accelytics, my first project at Anaplan, I didn't even really believe that. Although I had learned that that was the case, I just didn't quite understand how it was the case until after I completed the project. And we completed our first project faster than expected and under budget. That comes from the power of the platform itself, being able to rapidly develop and customize. The second thing is the Anaplan core technology. It's superior for setting up scenario modeling and doing in-memory calculations. None of the other systems I've worked with, which include Oracle Demantra and JDA Blue Yonder, for example, among others, have this ability. It's a game changer. And the third thing, in my opinion, is the Anaplan's community of model builders, all using the same standard approach. So it allows for easy transferability and support, since everything is done in a standard way. The models are built with a very strict code. You're not coding, but a very strict way of doing things so that anything transfers very easily from one model builder to another, one company to another. And I think there's a few more, or a couple more at least, that Matt has.
Yeah, I wanted to call out because I have been sitting in the chair. I have been sitting in the chair following a failed Agility supply planning implementation and had to make a choice on a second package. And having lived through the Agility failure, what was important to me was that it was transparent and that we could bring the development into the hands of the business. I didn't want to have to sit into an IT steering committee meeting and justify gains of, I get 8 hours a week. Well, there's no cost benefit there because I'm not going to lay off an FTE for 8 hours a week. So it makes it very difficult to get your attention where you need it out of your IT department through those meetings. So taking the development of the tool and future development of the tool out of the IT department and into the supply chain department was very important to me. And then as I've learned since I've left the business and come into consulting, I think Anaplan really represents what is best in class for connected planning. I think its ability from a financial tool and a supply chain tool and how those interact and the power of a data hub, I think those are really fundamental to how to build a connected planning organization. And that's what I've got for today.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for watching our webinar. We have other topics upcoming. We're thinking about doing blockchain soon and maybe supply chain analytics. And we have some other topics that we're discussing as well. Please check our website and check our YouTube channel. If you want to comment, we'll happily go in any direction that seems interesting to anybody who's viewing. So I think that's it for this one. Thanks again. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.